Welcome to the Creative Entrepreneurs Podcast, where it's all about turning your unique talents and perspectives into a viable business. And now, your host, Paris Hamilton.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 25 of the Creative Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, Paris Hamilton. I'm so excited to be here with you today because in this particular episode, I want to discuss the topic of creating your own assets and why you should strive for that. Now, it's important to note that no matter where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, you can always think bigger. You may have heard a saying that it's along the lines of your thoughts become your actions. And without going too much into why I believe that to be true, just know that I do. I want to encourage you to think bigger, dream bigger, and act on those ideas. Now, having assets is extremely important when you're in business or even if you're just trying to build your own net worth. You cannot have a business without having assets. If you think about the traditional way of working, it's a system of trading your time for money. Whatever skill you possess is your asset, and some other company pays you for that asset. Eventually, you will run out of time and your cash flow will stop, or you will get sick and your income will stop. When you think about the way that wealthy people and successful entrepreneurs have built successful companies, you realize a difference from the common man. They put their time and effort up front into building assets that can generate income later down the road, even when they are no longer trading their time. They are okay with the risk. They might have been scared or nervous internally, but they push through that uncertainty. After the entrepreneur has built the asset then appreciates in value, and then the asset becomes the money generator, as opposed to the entrepreneur being the direct money generator, as in the case where the individual is trading time for money, such as the typical 9-to-5 situation. You will get paid for as long as the asset has value. So, what is defined as an asset? An asset can be defined as any item of economic value owned by an individual or a corporation, especially that which could be converted into cash. So, some traditional examples of assets could be cash, real estate, a vehicle, stocks, bonds, inventory, office equipment. Some intangible assets are things like trademarks, patents, and copyrights. A lot of people know what kind of things that you can get patents for, like any unique method for creating something useful, or maybe a patent for the design of some new toy or useful machine or an invention. You can get copyrights for things like song lyrics, computer codes, different types of literature, including an asset that I'm particularly interested in, which is books. At a company like consulting companies, it's hard to really place dollar valuations on them because the value is in the knowledge of the consultants and the analysts and the management that work there. So why is it important to create assets, especially if you're an entrepreneur? If you're familiar with the life of those in the typical 9-to-5 work, full-time work hustle, then you know that it is a never-ending process. You go to work, do some routine tasks that help your superiors look good. You go home to rest and possibly take care of your family, and then you start the process all over again the next day. If you're lucky, you have some type of job security and you retired after however many years and you get a check for your efforts. In the standard hustle of life and work, many of us get comfortable and never even think about creating assets. In some jobs, if you come up with new ideas, they become the intellectual property of the company that you work for. For instance, I work in medicinal chemistry, or what I like to call us entrepreneurial drug hunters. So if I were to come up with the next groundbreaking drug for some disease, that that drug is property of whomever I work for at that time. So I hope you understand why it is important for you to want to create assets and build wealth as an entrepreneur for yourself, and not trading your ideas and giving your ideas to some other company to make money off of. I mean, if you are an entrepreneur and that is what you want to do, such as you come up with ideas and you sell them to companies, if you want that to be your business model, then that's okay. I think a book called One Simple Idea by Stephen Key talks through that type of process of uh, saying that you're a product developer or coming up with these ideas and talking to certain companies that might be of interest, so that down the road they end up paying for the patent, which can end up being thousands of dollars, and you get some type of payment up front or some type of royalty. So if you're interested more in that type of business model, I'd suggest reading that book by Stephen Key. By now you know what assets are and why they're important. Let's think about 8 different ways or categories that different successful entrepreneurs have created their fortunes. Starting with number 1, you can build innovative products and be like Steve Jobs or Richard Branson. Number 2, you can build an influential brand like Oprah Winfrey. Number 3, you can build a high performance team like Jack Welch did with General Electric. And yes, your team is an asset, and a very valuable one at that. Businesses ultimately succeed or fail based on the talent of the individuals within those businesses, from management all the way down to the people that help with the small, tedious, everyday tasks. 4, you can be a deal maker and bring deals together like Donald Trump did with real estate. 5, you can buy and sell commodities. 6, you can buy and hold on to assets like Warren Buffett. 7, you can control cash flow producing assets such as rental properties. But this is definitely not limited to something like real estate. It was just the first thing that comes to mind. 8, you could also create an efficient, duplicable system like Ray Kroc did with McDonald's. This way you turn a business into a system and you franchise it to others. But all of this starts with you knowing yourself and your particular strengths. If you don't know what you're good at, then either you might do nothing or you might get pulled into all kinds of directions thinking you can do everything. And it might be that you are good at a lot of things, but take time to think about what you are really great at. Where you find your passion is where you will find your purpose and true path. And that's where, that's when success is actually going to find you. So there's a thing called the Pareto's Principle, which is 20% of what you do can give you 80% of the results, which that fits in great with the topic of creating your own assets, because you're putting in all of this time up front to give you so much more in return later down the road. So the work you put in will be the 20% of what you do, and the success down the road will be the 80% of your results. So let's give an example. I would love to be a guest on someone else's podcast who has more listeners than myself, because I feel that would be a great investment of my time and result in me being exposed to a broader audience. Also, I would love to write guest posts for an online community such as entrepreneur.com, for example. That way, a small amount of effort on my part, whether writing a post or doing an interview, will have a huge upside and grant me exposure to a much larger targeted audience than I already had. So we all know that one thing we absolutely cannot get back is time. Therefore, why not spend your time now creating an asset that is going to generate revenue for you with the possibility of freeing up your time to do other things that you enjoy later down the road? Don't you want to be able to travel when you want to, whether it's for fun or even to see family members? Wouldn't it hurt internally if you had to miss some important family occasion because of a work obligation that stems from you working for someone else? Of course you would. A couple of books that I would recommend that you do check out: The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferris. Super inspirational and gives you some good information about automating your business. And it goes more into that Pareto principle that I was mentioning. Another book that I recommend is called The One Thing by Gary Keller and Papasan, which really goes into the downside of trying to do too many things at once and losing your focus on what should be the most important task at hand. And of course, I would have to recommend my own book, The Missing Mindset, which you can find for sale on Amazon. I'm a true believer that every entrepreneur should take the time to invest in themselves, whether it be the acquisition of new knowledge or even financially. Even entrepreneurs like Phil Knight, the co-founder of Nike, was strapped for cash well into his creation of the company. But that didn't stop him at all. But at least 5 of the necessary assets that every entrepreneur should have boil down to this. Number one, patience. Success does not happen overnight. Have the patience to build your business from the ground up and don't be discouraged by the setbacks that are likely to occur along the way. Number two, courage. You should have the courage to stay the course. Don't let the opinions of others deter you from your goal if you truly believe in something. Number three, readiness to evolve. This involves constantly educating yourself. Number four, humility. We all have limitations, and you should never be afraid to know what those are and ask for assistance when needed. A lot of successful entrepreneurs build the right team around them. And number five, innovation. Having one strong project is great, but successful entrepreneurs are constantly thinking about what's next. When it comes down to it, your greatest asset as an entrepreneur is going to be your creativity. That's why this is the Creative Entrepreneurs Podcast. It doesn't matter what business area you're in, the thing that nobody can take away from you, and the one thing that will help you grow and lead your business, and the one thing that you have over any other entrepreneur is your creativity. Everyone has their own experiences and their own imagination. So if you can tap into yours and actually trust yourself, then you can do so many great things. Creativity is how you come up with a new product design idea. Creativity is how you think up new apps and software ideas. Creativity is how you come up with an innovative business model that others haven't thought of yet. It's creativity that allows you to see a problem that others have before they even know it's a problem. Focus on your advantage and stop trying to be like everyone else, because if you are just trying to duplicate what other entrepreneurs have already done, then you will only go so far. So with that, I hope that this podcast session has been helpful. From one entrepreneur to another, I want to tell you all to please leverage the 2 very important resources at your disposal: your time and your creativity. Don't be afraid of putting in hard work now so that you can live better down the road. Find the value in the struggle and persevere longer than those others who fall short along the journey to success, because you are not a quitter. So be sure to leave comments on what you liked, disliked, and if this has helped you in any way. Make sure that you get on the email list, and please leave a positive review on iTunes because that would be extremely helpful. I want to thank you all for coming on this episode and spending your time with me. As always, I look forward to serving you in the next episode. Build your dreams, or someone else will hire you to build theirs.
Thanks for listening to the Creative Entrepreneurs Podcast. Join us next time for more great insights. And don't forget to subscribe to the email list to get the latest information and updates.